Hello, good morning. Welcome to the morning programs, the Dailies, where we review and look at some of the headlines of the stories on the front page of Nigerian newspaper. Quite a number of events happened, especially the fracas that happened at the PDP National Secretariat, where we saw, people behaving like kids there. But then, nevertheless, we hope that you drop your views, your suggestion regarding any of the story that's quite of interest to you. I am Sada Elisha Dasho, up doing this program together with Rachel Tansy. Good morning.
Morning, fella.
All right, we have quite a number, and we would love to start with this Nigeria rather newspaper.
The first story on this Nigeria, federal government unveils framework to attract direct investment. The writer says World Bank pledges support of $750 million. Big party, big problems as clash over national secretary position rogue secretariat in the PDP. The writer says Anyanwu Okoye supporters exchange blows at board of trustee meeting. Okoye walked out. Turaki heads committee ahead of February 25th NEC. Scrapping TET fund will be catastrophic for our varsities, ex-NLC President Waba warns. On minimum wage, labor to crack down defaulters by March, says SSANU president. You can find details on page 5. Max Air operations suspended for 3 months after Kano incident. NSIB initiates investigation to ascertain causes of incidents. We have a picture story where we can see Commissioner Internal Service, ECOWAS Commission, Professor Nasifi Abdullahi Dharma, Vice President of the Commission, Damatin, and the President of ECOWAS, Dr. Omar, and the Commissioner Economic Affairs and Agriculture, ECOWAS Commissions, Torre said during a news conference by the President of the ECOWAS Commission on the exit of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger from the community in Abuja. This happened yesterday, and that's all the news on this Nigeria.
All right, let's take a look at the nation. Injunctive orders against Obi Bena, GHL and other states, says FN lawyers. You can look into that story regarding the First Bank holdings inside the paper. Still talking about the GHL, we floored First Bank in court. You can find that story on page 4. Fracas at PDP National Headquarters, with detail of that story found on page 2. We have an advertisement on the front page of the paper. You can do well to get the paper and read more detail of that, and that's all on the Nation newspaper.
On New Telegraph, active bank accounts rise by 54% to 311.6 million. A report from NIBSS. E-payment deals hit 1.07 quadrillion. In turbulence, Nigeria absolves United Airlines of airspace violation. You can find details on page 7. DSS military intercept arms catch from Niger Republic. Afenifere crisis deepens as Fasoranti loyalists reject Farutimi. How Max Air nose wheel collapsed with a bang. You can find details inside the paper. On regulatory violation, JAM suspends law admission into 8 varsities. The big story on New Telegraph newspaper, PDP crisis festers as Anyanwu Okoye disrupt board of trustee meeting. The writer says Damogunble's party leaders, board of trustee members for lingering conflict, says February NEC meeting sacrosanct. Wabara is saying personal interest fueling crisis in the National Working Committee, sets up Turaki Committee to resolve secretaryship dispute. You can find details on page 3. Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso officially quit ECOWAS. APC expelled Aribesola over anti-party activities. Crowd crush at Indian festival leaves 30 dead, 60 injured. Netanyahu to meet Trump at White House next week. You can find details on page 4, and I believe the world is looking forward to what the outcome of this particular meeting will be. Still on the paper, NLC set to protest 50% telecoms tariff hike February 4th, begins mobilization of members, affiliates nationwide, threatens indefinite strike. 50,000 Nigerian women forced into prostitution. A report from the minister says 1.4 million trapped in modern slavery in Europe. Truly, this is a concern, and since the federal government knows the number, I hope that work begins concerning reducing these numbers. You can find details on page 4. We have a study, difficulty reaching deep sleep linked to dementia. You can find details on page 29. So if you're struggling to fall asleep deeply, then perhaps this study should interest you. Details can be found on page 29, and that's all the news on New Telegraph newspaper.
Right on First News newspaper, PDP on the brink. Board of Trustee meeting turns violent amid internal Board of Trustee meeting turns violent amid internal strife. Damagu slammed the party leaders for fueling internal crisis with data found inside the paper. Max Air suspend operations of 3 months over Kanu incident. Gire holds Pandef leadership calls for stronger advocacy for Niger Delta. JAM hold law admission in Redeemers University and 7 others. So please, parents should do well to look this up so that you can guide your words rightly for those who want to study for law. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger officially done ECOWAS. And the big story on the paper, NLC to shut down telecoms over 50% tariff hike. The writers say mass protest service boycott set for February 4th, so all fingers are crossed regarding these. Court strikeout IGP defamation suit against Dele Farutimi. And then we have Khan chair applaud Tinubu's government for ending Northern Christians' persecution. Downside of the paper, APC accuses Arabessola for anti-party activity, expels him. We saw that on our paper yesterday. And we have the picture story, the First Lady Urutimi Tinubu commissions ICT Center in Ilori highlights technology as a tool for empowerment. We can see her with the women there, and that's all on First News newspaper.
On Daily Independent, injunctive orders against Obiabena JHL orders stay. Court rules. See page 5 for details. The big story on Daily Independent, telecom tariff hike, Labour to stage nationwide protest February 4th, cautions federal government, NCC, National Assembly to halt implementation. Damagun Wabara blast PDP leaders, NWC over party crisis. As BOT set up committee led by Turaki to resolve PDP crisis, insists NEC must hold in February. I moved out of Board of Trustee meeting in self-defense, Ude Okoye is saying, as police soldiers, DSS take charge over security in PDP. African Development Bank grants Nigeria $1.1 billion loan to provide electricity for 5 million citizens. Max Air suspension, airline right to have grounded operations, NCAA needs change of approach, a statement from an expert as trainee aircraft crash lands in Zaria. APC chieftain confirms Arabesola's expulsion over anti-party activities. President Tinubu embodies essence of desperation. Statement from Atiku. You can start with the details on the front page. JAMB halts admission into law program of 8 varsities over violations, and that's all the news on Daily Independent newspaper.
On the Metric newspaper, as Dangote refinery ramps up production, Nigeria's oil imports set for 8-year low. Detail of these found in the paper. And we have still on the Metric, PDP moves to resolve dispute over national secretary position. Appoint ex-minister Turaki to chair the dispute resolution panel. Anti-party activities, APC expert Arabessola mulls Erufai's explosion. The big story here is saying telecom tariff hike, showdown looms as NLC plans nationwide rally next week. The writer says vows to resist policies prioritizing corporate bond profits over well-being of Nigerians. Vow to resist policies prioritizing corporate profits over well-being of Nigerians. Order affiliate state council to begin full mobilization. Demands immediate suspension of approved 50% tariff hike with detail of this story found in the paper. Regarding the 50 million naira bribery allegation, provide evidence Labour Party challenges Atiku, will recall he said that the opposition party has given this money to other parties. So here we're seeing the Labour Party challenging him to actually bring evidence of that payment. Still metric newspaper, EFCC arrests former NHIS boss Usman Yusuf over fraud allegation. Police oppose Sowole's bill, says he might evade trial. More detail of that can be found on page 9. We have a picture story, a courtesy visit, where we can see the Lagos State Governor presenting a souvenir to mark the ambassador of France to Nigeria during a courtesy visit to Lagos yesterday. We have an entertainment story. Do well to get the paper, read more detail of other stories as well.
On Voice of Liberty, federal government secures $1.1 billion African Development Bank loan to power 5 million Africans by 2026. Federal government slams 3-month suspension on Max Air over Kano Airport incident. Security operatives take over PDP Secretariat after Board of Trustee meeting clash. The big story on the paper, NLC declares nationwide protest over Telkom's tariff hike, 70,000 naira minimum wage default. The Nigerian Labour Congress has declared a nationwide protest over the recent hike in telecommunications tariffs. Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso officially exit ECOWAS. Wike versus Governor Bala, stop betraying North, Forum cautions Dogara. Afenifere appoints Farotimi as secretary, demands Kanu's release. EFCC operatives raid ex-NHIS executive secretary Usman Yusuf's residence, arrest him. And that's all the news on Voice of Liberty.
On the Punch newspaper, on tariff hike, Labour plans Telkom boycott February 4th protests. PDP governors plan summit as leaders exchange blows at the Board of Trustee meeting. Party restrain wearing fractional secretaries from performing duties. APC mocks opposition party, with detail on page 2. And on explosion, NNPP woes Erebe Soda, APC disown Oyetola's governor posters. On Max Air, federal government suspend airlines, plan to audit others. More detail found on page 21. JAM suspend law admission in Kwasu, Redeemers Varsity, and 6 others. Police kill 5 kidnappers, recover 5.2 million naira in Ogun State. Gani Adams falls Sultan's backing for Sharia in the southwest, with detail found on page 18. We have a picture story as well on the front page of the paper. Do well to get the paper, read more detailed stories of interest to you.
On Nigerian Tribune, we have according to court injunctive orders against Agbebena GHL Others State. Statement from the First Bank Council. RMDC demands equity, collaboration, and inclusivity for Remo in the creation of proposed Ijebu State. You can find details on page 5 on what is taking most of our paper is an open letter of appreciation to the National Assembly. And that's all news on Nigerian Tribune.
On the Daily Times newspaper, Lagos 2027 Diaspora Group plans mega endorsement rally for Sheyi Tinubu. We're seeing the story is beginning to get more grounds ever since they say they are endorsing him. So we look forward to seeing what the future platform of the USA, a United States-based organization, has announced their plan for the much anticipated all-wide endorsement event in support of Sheyi Tinubu, a gubernatorial candidate for Lagos State in 2027. So all fingers are crossed regarding that. The big story: talks invade PDP National Secretariat over Anyanwu Ude Okoye's fight. So you can read more detail here. They're saying this was a walk of talk. So you can read more detail of that story in the paper. Plateau renew call for ranching to end farmers' headers conflict. You can look up that story in the paper. FCT IRS seek EFCC partnership to enhance tax compliance. Tunji Ojo advocates technical skill acquisition in tertiary institutions. NLC to embark on nationwide protests over the 50% telecom tariff hike. Downside of the paper, instant transfer hit 1.07 QN naira as bank accounts surged to 311.6 million. So I believe that should be naira, or however it is. Do well to read more detail of that. And then the picture story is during the African Union Chad-based a veterinary forum where we can see the vice president, we can see even the governor of Borno State, among others, were present during that meeting. So do well to get the paper and read more detailed stories of interest to you.
On this day newspaper, the first story, Obani Koro accuses Access Bank of using his property as collateral for 1 billion naira loan without his consent. NLC declares mass action to protest 50% telecom tariff hike. At Lake Chad Governors Forum, Tinubu seeks multifaceted response to security threats. The writer says charges states to improve security by tackling poverty or the root causes of insecurity. Stakeholders express commitment towards tackling challenges. The big story on the paper, GHL floors First Bank as court vacates Mariva injunction. Directors seek damages. The writer says, Justice Dipolu, based on all my findings above, I hold that the first defendant/applicant motion on notice, GHL, dated January 13, 2025, succeeds. The Mariva order of 30th December 2024 is hereby set aside. Therefore, the second to fifth defendant's applicant alternative relief succeeds to the extent that the Mariva order of 30th December 2024 is set aside. We have a picture story with the caption immortalizing General Tunde Adagbon, where we can see the deputy governor's wife of Kwara alongside the governor's wife and also vice president's wife and also the first lady of the country, Oluremi Tinubu, at the event. And that's all the news on this day newspaper.
On Vanguard newspaper, lenders experience high loan default rates in the fourth quarter of 2024. This is a survey by the CBN. Anambra security outfit raids threaded Lilo Forest, kills 6 gunmen. NLC holds nationwide telecom tariff hike protest on Tuesday next week. The formal exit of Niger and Mali, Burkina Faso, ECOWAS pledges to keep the door open, so whenever they are ready, they can always come back and join ECOWAS. How federal government brushed prosecution of 888 terror suspects. This is come from Baba Duku and DPPF. The writer says poor investigation, evidence collection, weakness, intimidation, secret trial, hampering conviction. Limited forensic technological capability and obstacle. As lawyers raise concern over the trial and conviction, and then we did our job, court decide who is convicted or acquitted. This is coming from the AGF's office. We did a found on page 14. I will work closely with Pandef Oba of Bini pledges. We did a found on page 30. PDP National SEC position, Board of Trustees set up panel to meet with the claimants. Detail found on page 9. Coming from the President, federal government secures $1.1 billion African Development Bank loan to power 5 million people by 2026. Alleged electoral fraud, court revokes bill, issues arrest warrant on Uni Oyo professor, with detail on page 6. Max Air suspend operation for 3 months as planned as the plane suffers nose wheel collapse. Max Air suspend operation for 3 months as plane suffered nose wheel collapse. We have a story for sport on page 37. FIFA 2026 World Cup. Toros sure Super Eagles will qualify. It will be a big blow if Nigeria fails to qualify. Coming from Nwosu. You can find that story inside the paper. And we have a picture story showing the President Bola Tinubu, the Chief of Staff to the President Femi Bajabiamila, Minister of State Defense Bello Matawale, and then the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu during the President's arrival from African Energy Summit in Tanzania. This happened on Tuesday, and that's all on the Vanguard newspaper.
On Blueprint newspaper, Senator Khatum decries renewed attacks in southern Kaduna. Naira strengthens to 1,635 to $1 in parallel market. On sports, 2026 World Cup qualifiers, Super Eagles will go for title in Morocco. The big story, Chad Basin Tinubu demands multifaceted response to security threats, tax states on poverty elevation, other root causes. NLC rejects 50% tariff hike, mobilizes for mass rally February 4th. And Yao Koye supporters clash as Damagun blames leaders for PDP crisis. Our failure to reach truce undermining party's strength, Wabara is saying. We're excited opposition parties in this array. A statement from APC. You can find details on page 6. Cash scarcity pushes e-payment to 115.1 trillion naira. Now the Tortif is saying equip military to flush out criminals. Niger partners firms on 150 billion naira. Mina Piako, I believe Niger partners firms on 150 billion naira. Mina Piako, and that's all the news on Blueprint newspaper.
Alright, before we continue further with the paper review, please let's take a time and let you choose the stories. We'd love to have your own take. What did you feel about the drama or the saga that took place in the PDP National Secretariat, where they're yet to have a particular person claiming to be the secretary, where we're seeing about 2 people claiming to be the secretary, as well as we're seeing that NLC saying that, February 4th is either NCC together with the telecoms reverse on that tariff hike, or they will be going on a protest. So quite a number of events for you to actually go through, chew, and then drop your comment. When we come back, we will continue the paper review. Please stay tuned with us.
Make your everyday informative, make your everyday count. Know your world, daily affairs, national and international, with authentic news events as they unfold on Global News and Zoom on Nigeria, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m.
Thanks for staying tuned. If you're just tuning in, the program is the Dailies. We have been looking at a number of stories that are making it on our papers, especially the 2 major stories are what is happening in the PDP, the crisis regarding who is the secretary of that party, as well as we are also looking at the issue of the 50% tariff hike coming from the telecoms, where already we saw that the government have given its approval, but then NLC is kicking against it. Yesterday we saw where subscribers are saying they are heading to court. We've seen where Serap has actually also taken legal matters regarding that. And then today we're seeing that NLC saying, you know what, on Tuesday we will be going on a protest if there's no reversal on that. So these are the 2 stories we've been looking at majorly on the paper. So please do well to drop your own views, drop your own thoughts regarding these stories and more if you feel any of interest to you. I still have Rachel with me. Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome, Philip.
All right, before we move further, this whole PDP saga thing, Rachel, you and I have gone through the papers. It is that today, we've seen where they're yet to come up with who is the secretary. Is it Okoye that is the secretary, or are we having a different person as the secretary? Because they tend not to have, to put their heads together. We saw where Atiku is coming out so strong. Yesterday we saw where he was talking about merging, and then we're saying that if there's going to be a merger and we're having these parties not putting their acts together, what hope do they have? They're supposed to have a neck meeting by February, and then with all of these, who is supposed to take the minutes and everything that's supposed to be done if you do not have a particular person to be the secretary of that party?
I believe for PDP is they keep creating committees and committees to tackle this. Damagun led this, Okoye this and that. I think they should stop doing that also. It's either you dissolve all order and leave one to stand, or you start everything from the scratch. And then I think that's what PDP is failing to do. It doesn't matter if you are divided, you are a political party, so I think you also understand what it means to vote. You are yourselves electorates, and you can come together and vote regardless. And at the end of the day, we would have the majority picked and all of that. But each time they meet, they insist on having meetings, and the meetings don't go well. And after every meeting, we're seeing Damagun now coming out to create a committee to look at the clash that just happened recently. And tomorrow, when you keep creating this committee to look at into these problems, it almost feels like within the party you are creating factions, you are creating caucus within the party and all of that. I think what they need is to just bring down whatever structure they have. They don't need a renovation. They need a wrecking ball to just bring out whatever structure they think they have erected and is standing, because it is not standing. There is a serious architectural fault in whatever they have, and they need to start redesigning. They need a new blueprint, and they need to start all the way from the bottom, because they do have time. Okay, we are in 2025. You have time to put yourself together by starting from the bottom, yes, to the top. You just need to start. You can agree to dissolve everything. And it's also difficult because they are divided. But where did you start from? What is the root of this problem in the first place? They can't tell me that they don't know what is actually causing this problem. And of course, if you do know what's the cause, then of course you should start. You have a solution whatsoever. But I think everyone is being stubborn, and we can see how APC is very excited about what is going on. And it's not only APC that is excited. Other opposition parties too are. You give them more strength for the elections ahead in 2027.
You clearly remember, in fact, this is a question that a number of PDP members were asked, and even opposition party. Do PDP have a structure? You clearly remember this was what was used against the PDP in the Plateau State during the governorship election, where they said there was no structure because they didn't have a particular chairman, they didn't have all of these, and that was the reason why it had to even get to the point of them going to court. And we said that these are part of the things that are supposed to have been checked before election. Why did the election take place before all of these are coming? So just like you said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. So it's either you put your heads together, dissolve everybody in that party. We're hoping that maybe by February during their neck meeting, we should be able to say, you know what, we want to have an election. Already we know that even the position that Damagum is holding, there was some rave at a point in time. Okay, he should hold that office pending on when they will have their next neck meeting and all of that. So our fingers are crossed regarding that, but we just hope that PDP know what they're doing. They need to get their acts together. Well, let's look at the other papers, looking at the Guardian newspaper. Neglecting Tropical Diseases Day, which happens to be today. Spike in ailment pushes Nigerians' care funding gap to about 8.6 trillion naira. Now we're seeing that there are a number of tropical diseases that are happening, the likes of snake bite, the likes of tuberculosis, the likes of rabies and all of that. And this is really, really neglected. And we're seeing here that there's a need for funding, especially for Nigeria, where we see World Health Organization are sourcing for funds and all of that. And we're looking at where the gap is, about 8.6 trillion naira. So you can grab this paper and read more detail of this story on page 6. NLC to protest against 50% telecoms hike on Tuesday, which is next week. Rachel, and I would like to have your take again about this. Yesterday we discussed about subscribers, saying that they are heading to court. And now we are seeing NLC saying that they want to protest. And I clearly remember you saying that, why don't we have people or indigents choosing their battle? Choosing the battle that you are sure, you are certain that you are going to win. Now, this look more like, okay, let's just show that we care. But I do not know why I have that feeling. Anyway, this is my personal opinion, which I'm not supposed to share, but I'm actually saying it because this looks more like, you know what, a lost battle already. Because if the government have already given the approval, and clearly we saw when NCC refused whatsoever to respond to subscribers, if they do not reply to subscribers, why would they reply the NLC? Do you think that NLC will get a different feedback from what the subscribers will get?
Of course not. I think the NLC need to stay relevant, Sele, and then this is one way to stay relevant. Come out and let Nigerians know that you still have a voice. But today, that's the question that they need to answer. And I believe that they have bigger battles in front of them that they should be facing. One of which I mentioned yesterday is concerning the reviews of the policies that are not yet working. You need to stand on your feet and say, you know what, Mr. President, you brought this policy, you made these promises, we've given you 2 years of our lives, and then nothing has changed. These are the battles that I believe that they need to face. What about the implementation of the minimum wage? It is very important if Nigerians have to deal with the increase in everything that they consume, from telecommunication to electricity to food,
and
everything. If we have to deal with that, and this is where NLC needs to come out and say this is our concern. Because as I keep saying, is it the tariff hike by the telecommunication that is the problem, or what is causing this hike in the first place? And I think by now Nigerians have come to terms with the fact that Bola Tinubu's administration is an expensive one and nothing is going to be cheap. So far so good, but then we need to know that, okay, what is causing life to become this expensive? What is increasing the standard of our living? No, what is decreasing rather our standard of living? We saw the previous paper where at the start of the week we were thinking that the naira was gaining some value as against the dollar. In the official market, it was at 1,551 thereabout, and today we are seeing that at the parallel market is at 1,630 naira, and it means it is not gaining strength; it is losing it as compared to what we had 2 weeks 2 weeks ago. What are we saying? These are the things that are affecting this tariff hike and all of that, because now every company, every business have the right to come out and say, well, you know what, we're leaving. Because this is the same challenge we had when companies were leaving, where we have companies, international companies leaving and saying we cannot cope with the exchange rate, we cannot cope with the supply of dollar, we cannot cope with tariff and all of that. So what makes it different for telecommunication companies? They are all facing the same economic environment, and it is harsh at the moment for both small, medium enterprises and even larger businesses, as we can see. So we should pick our battle properly, Sele, and know the one that we can win, and know the one that we will persist to the end even if we don't win.
Of course, choosing the battle wisely as well is very important. And just like you said, I think that is the right thing to do. When you actually face the policies, the reforms, some of them that are not working, if those ones start working properly, then you see that even the telecoms communication will have no choice, because they see that right now they can have available power. Back was then where right till date we are having an epileptic power sector and all of that. So I just hope that they look into that. Still on the Guardian newspaper, Tinubu boring lie between state power, personal ambition, says Atiku with data found on page 3. Sultan backs Sharia law in Oyo and Ekiti state. Reps dismiss 400 million naira bribery allegation, blame varsity heads with data found on page 4. 5 kidnappers killed in gun draw with police along the Lagos-Ibadan expressway. NCAA suspend Max Air over Kano near crash incident. And we have another story, security economy concern as ECOWAS confirmed Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali's withdrawal with data found on page 6. We have 2 picture stories. Do well to get the paper with more detail of any of the story that is of interest to you.
On Leadership newspaper, Ajayi is saying Leadership Award has encouraged North Automobile to strive for excellence. trending. Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso exit ECOWAS. Numbers 3,619 Nigerians face deportation from U.S. Injunctive orders against Obiebena, GHL orders state court rules. Professors fume over minister's refusal to address Uni Abuja VC crisis. The big story, anti-terrorism, Chad-based traditional rulers laid fresh front. The writer says partner regional governments to end insecurity, poverty, inequality, fueling insurgency in Lake Chad. A statement from President Tinubu. Military will do more to restore lasting peace. An assurance from the CDS. You can find details on page 4. EFCC versus Yahaya Bello, court adjourns to April 3rd. Don't destroy PDP, Damogun Wabara tell party leaders. Max Air grounded for 3 months. APC expels Aribesola for anti-party activities. You can find details on page 4, and that's all the news on Leadership newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at Business Day newspaper. Starting with a big story, local investors drive stock deal to 18-year high. Domestic transaction make up 85% of transaction. Naira fall boosts the market performance. More data found in the paper. Naira rest stability spike, renewed confidence among investors. Higher agri budget insufficient to boost food production, where we're seeing that more than 100% increase in Nigeria's agricultural budget in 1 year is insufficient to drive the food production. This is coming from experts, so you can do well to look at what is the budget for agri in 2025. United Nigeria XEJet set up local repair facility to save FX. From dreams to decay, how Nigeria squandered its industrial ambitions. You can read that story on page 30, and that's all on Business Day newspaper.
On Punch Sport Extra, the big story, Europe's most wanted. Onyedika on PSG, Bayern, Milan, Dortmund, Porto Raiders ahead of transfer deadline day. El Nasser made down Boniface for Duran. Sociedad eye move for Chukwueze. Napoli rejects Gala's 65 million euros Osimhen bid. FCSB versus Man United. Devils seek last 16 ticket in Romania. You can find details on page 3. City warned over Haaland contract extension. Rashford, Amorim not on talking terms. Saha tells United to sign Pogba. Ancelotti expects Vinicius Madrid stay. In cricket, Ude shines as Nigeria end World Cup in style. And better now than 2024, Israel Adesanya is saying, and that's all the news on Punch Sports Extra.
And that's how far we can go on the program this morning. So thank you to everyone who made this program a success. Thank you to you, Rachel.
You're welcome, Celia.
All right, till we come your way again, please to have a lovely day ahead.